What's up everyone, Kyler Sasner. Welcome back to another video. Today we'll be talking about some of the recent WWE releases. There's a few names here that I want to talk about, so that's why I'm making a video. It always sucks when people do get released from WWE, people losing their jobs, but there's some names here that I'm excited to see get back on the independent scenes, maybe go to AEW or other companies, and I feel like a fresh scenery will really benefit them as a fan. So let's talk about it and get into it. And we're going to start off with the most surprising name on the list, and that is Sonya Deville. I feel like the Pure Fusion Collection, the PFC, have been heavily featured on TV. I feel like they've been on Raw a lot. They've been, doing stuff with Damage Control. They've been involved in stuff. They were heavily featured in the Royal Rumble. There was a part where, the three of them were dominating the ring, just throwing people out, kind of controlling the match before eventually getting eliminated. And I feel like there's a lot you could have done there with them, especially when you think about the new titles in the WWE and in the women's division. We got the Intercontinental Championship, we got the United States Championship, and we got those women's mid-card titles finally. I feel like you need to establish a division and bring in the depth to that division. And that's what you could have done with Sonya Deville. She could have been someone to challenge for Lyra Valkyria in the Intercontinental Championship. She could have been someone, to team with Shayna and have tag title matches, And I feel like when you're putting new titles into a division, you need to have people ready, and you need to have depth that you can have challengers for those, and then you can have challengers for your main titles, and you need teams to challenge for the tag titles, because I feel like the women's tag title division, isn't like that deep. Especially, I feel like that goes for like the men's tag titles as well on Raw. But yeah, I feel like Sonya Deville is definitely something you could have had it in that mid card, going after those mid card titles, having her team up with one of the other members of PFC and going for the tag titles. You could have Sonya and Shayna going for the tag titles while Zoe goes for the Intercontinental Championship, and you could do an angle where PFC are trying to dominate and hold all the belts. But yeah, other than that, that's kind of why it's the most surprising. I feel like they were getting a bit of a not really a push, but they were featured a lot. They were heavily featured during the Rumble, and it looked like they might have had some plans for them, but obviously that goes out the window with Sonya. I'm interested to see how does this affect Zoe and Shayna. Do they continue to team up, or do we just disband the PFC altogether? So yeah, we'll have to wait and see how that goes. And that brings me on to the next release I want to talk about, and that is Blair Davenport. Again, similar reasons to Sonya Deville. You just brought in these weight card championships, and Blair Davenport is definitely someone who you should have been focusing heavily on in those divisions. I feel like she would have been a great addition to that United States Championship division, because she was over on SmackDown, or if you wanted to bring her over to Raw and have her go after the Intercontinental Championship. She's a great worker. We've seen that before she even came to the WWE, and before she was in NXT and NXT UK. I was a big fan of her from her time on the UK Independents and her time in Stardom. I thought she was great as Bea Priestley. She's definitely someone you could have featured heavily in those mid-card championships. She would have been a great challenger, as I mentioned, and she's definitely someone I could have seen potentially winning, and with a bit of TV time, with a bit of build. I don't see why Blair Davenport couldn't have been United States champion, or why she couldn't have been an Intercontinental Championship down the line. And yeah, I was looking. Her last match was back in November in the United States Championship tournament. It was a triple threat match with Chelsea Green and Naomi. And it seemed like she was someone that maybe would have been benefiting from these new championships. But yeah, she was just in the tournament, and then that's it. We haven't seen her on TV since. I don't even think she's had a dark match or a live event match since. I believe when I checked Cage Match, this was the last match that came up. So again, another surprising one, like I said, because I thought she's someone that would have benefited from these mid-card titles, and she's someone that should have been benefiting from those mid-card titles. She's someone that should have been, getting a bit of a TV time, getting built up to challenge a Chelsea Green or a Lyra Valkyria for these belts down the line. Next up, we're going to be talking about the Authors of Pain and Paul Ellering. They only came back not that long ago. I feel like it's only been about a year, maybe a bit longer since they've been back in the company. But yeah, they haven't really been doing much on TV. The only real memorable stuff I can think of the Authors of Pain since coming back are they had a match at WrestleMania last year against the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley in a Philadelphia street fight. Of course, they were paired up with Karrion Kross as part of Final Testament. Then, of course, we had the stuff with Final Testament, The Miz, and the White Six, and that's their last TV match was the match against the White Six in December. So they haven't really been on TV much recently. You know, we've still been seeing Karrion Kross and stuff backstage with Sami Zayn, so maybe we should have seen this coming. But it's kind of why did we bring him back in the first place? We didn't really have much plans for him. I'd be interested to see what the original plans for the Final Testament were, because they haven't really done a lot. So I wouldn't say it's really a surprise that they've got released, but again, I feel like they could have been beneficial. If you look at that Raw Tag Team division, it is very weak, especially compared to the SmackDown Tag Division. I know the SmackDown Tag Division over the last couple of months has kind of had a little renaissance in terms of it's been featured a lot more, especially since Motor City Machine Gun's debut. You know, it's been featured a lot more. We got the titles defended at the Royal Rumble, and it feels like there's a lot of focus on the SmackDown Tag Division, while the Raw Tag Division, it's kind of an afterthought. You know, you've the War Raiders as champions. You have the Judgment Day who can team up now and then. JD's out now, but you can still have Finn and Dom team. You have the Creed brothers who, since really joining up with American Made, haven't really done much either. You have a recently turned heel New Day, which again you could use. And you have the Alpha Academy who, they're a bit of a comedy team. I like Tozawa and I like Us. You could give them a push and do something, but they are a comedy team. I won't really go that far. And, you have Ethan Down Under. They recently got transferred over to Raw. But they've been doing stuff on NXT, going after Obafemi in the NXT Championship. And, I feel like a lot of people are ready for Austin Theory to turn on Grayson Waller from what I'm seeing online. So I feel like you definitely could have benefited from a big heel team like the Authors of Pain on Raw. Someone just that, it could have big matchups with, War Raiders are currently faces. You could have, that'd be a good match, I feel like. Maybe not on a PLE, but a Raw Tag Team title match against AOP versus War Raiders. I feel like that could be a physical matchup. That could potentially be something you could do. But overall, there hasn't really been a lot they've done, and I can't really say I'm surprised. But the next one does surprise me a little bit, and that is Cedric Alexander, mainly because he's been featured on NXT a good bit recently. I've been a big fan of Cedric since his days in Ring of Honor, going back 10 years now nearly. He was great on 205 Live. He was great as part of the Hurt Business, which, maybe we see him go to AEW now and reunite with the Hurt Syndicate over there, which I would be a fan of seeing. I also wouldn't mind if Cedric decides, I've done the Hurt Business stuff before, I'd like to go somewhere else and kind of focus on me and do a bit of a singles thing. Because like I said, I was a big fan of his 205 Live run. I was a big fan of him going back to his ROH days. And he's some that, he did some good stuff with Cruiserweight division. He did some good stuff with the Hurt Business, but I always felt he was capable of a lot more. And that kind of brings me to his recent NXT run. I've been a fan of him. I've liked what he's doing. And if you look at the NXT men's division, the women's division is stacked. But you look at the men's division, I think Trick Williams is going up soon. I feel like we'll get the rematch against Obafemi maybe at Stand and Deliver, and then that's his send-off, and he'll get a post-Mania main roster debut for Trick Williams, because I feel like there's nothing left for Trick to do in NXT. He's being North American champion, he's been NXT champion, so we'll remove Trick from that equation. I'd say top guys on the NXT side of things. You got Obafemi, your champion. You got Ethan Page. I would say you got Javon Evans. I feel like I've been a big fan of Jay Malachi, Javon Evans, since he really broke on the scene in DPW. He's definitely someone I feel like NXT fans are behind, and even at his young age, we've seen in DPW he has what it takes to be a world champion. Yeah, his run there wasn't that long because he signed with NXT, but you got Javon. Wesley, maybe you could add into the mix, but he's kind of been in NXT for so long. I feel like, again, he's someone that maybe it's been time to think about calling up if you ever are going to do it. And I really feel like Cedric Alexander, he's such a good wrestler. He could have filled in as at that top of the men's division and as one of the top guys in NXT. And, maybe even being a future NXT champion. So seeing him get released, it is kind of surprising in that aspect. Just because of how weak kind of the men's side of things are over in NXT. It's really been carried by the women's division as of late. You're having a worker like Cedric a part of it definitely would have been very beneficial and good to see. That kind of brings me on to the final release I will talk about. It happened in January, but it was announced earlier on this week. I just hadn't had a chance to talk about it. And that is Duke Hudson. I was a big Chase U fan for a lot of time. There was a time where Chase U were the only thing I really cared about on NXT, and they'd be the only thing that I really kept an eye on, kept up with. Would Duke have been a top singles guy in NXT? Maybe not, but I feel like there would have been a place if they didn't split up Chase U. But I feel like there definitely could have been a place for Chase U on the main roster. Especially when I talked about the Raw title division and how kind of weak it is. I feel like Chase U could have slotted in, especially on the babyface side. We got the War Raiders, we got Alpha Academy, New Day have just turned heel. Like, there's a gap there for, there's only really two face teams that I can think of off the top of my head over there on Raw. Chase U definitely could have fit in there, and I feel like they would have got over with the main roster audience, especially. They were very over with the NXT audience. I feel like they could have very well got over if given the chance on the main roster. But yeah, they decided to split them up, and now Duke is gone. So that is it. Going to be it for this video. I don't really have anything else to add. I've kind of went through everything. Some shocking ones and some surprising names, like Sonya Deville, but then there's others like B. Priestley and the Authors of Pain, where they haven't really been doing much with them. They could be used. There's definitely positions for them on the card, but for whatever reason they haven't been used, and so you can kind of see why they would get released. But yeah, Sonya Deville definitely the most shocking one. Cedric Alexander, I'd say a bit surprising considering he has been getting a bit of a push on NXT recently, but the same kind of happened with Mustafa Ali, where Ali went back to NXT and then just kind of after a while where wasn't Mustafa meant to be getting a North American title shot, and then all of a sudden he's released. So maybe Cedric isn't that surprising. But I'm still a bit surprised from it, just because, again, I feel like he definitely is a place for him on that NXT division. But yeah, that's going to be. Let me know what you think of all these releases in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.